Well, Susie, what a treat we have
I
today.
know, lucky us.
Yes, so we get a chance to talk to Orlando Bailey. And let me introduce Orlando to everyone.
Oh gosh.
Um, Passionate about shifting the narrative of black cities and neighborhoods. Passionate man. And here are the roles: an Emmy award winning journalist, director of engagement for Bridge Detroit, co host of the podcast Authentically Detroit, host of the Urban Consulate, and our MC for our Reaching Higher 25th anniversary gala, and you're a Reaching Higher graduate. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you guys.
It's a blessing, isn't it? I'm
It
so
is.
excited to have
Such
you
a
here,
blessing.
Orlando.
So much fun.
So, that list of roles, that's a diverse list of roles. It speaks to me volumes about you as a leader. So, how do you do it all?
I don't know. Someone was just saying to me the other day, it was like, Orlando, I feel like I see you everywhere, and I'm like, it's an illusion. But when I really sit down and think about it, it really isn't. I'm really just sort of all over the place to the point where I sort of just have to choose myself on some weekends and choose my house so that I can clean it and so that I can rest
Sure,
and
sure.
recharge. But the need is great, right? And the need seems to be everlasting. And so for me, because I love Detroit so much,
Yeah.
I spend a lot of myself, right? Giving of myself, giving of my time, my expertise, and my platform to ensure that residents are seen, heard, and understood, right? I think in all of these roles, that's the through line, right? Lending that platform so that residents, so that people, especially Black folks, have agency to express their power and expertise. And the list that you have isn't even exhaustive, right? Like I, in another life, I don't know how I do this. I chair the board of a credit union in the city of Detroit, One Detroit Credit Union. We have an asset size of about $55 million, right? And we're serving Detroit's underbanked and underserved, right? There's
Yeah.
the mission there. You know what I mean? And so I am super blessed and privileged to be able to do all of the work that I do in accordance to, the mission that I've set out for myself.
That's so neat. And to that list, while maybe not current, you served 10 years on the Reaching Higher board
A
also.
whole decade on the board. So this feels like homecoming. I'm coming home, right? Reaching higher. Just outside of the church that I grew up in was one of the, programs and places that put me up front, to put a microphone in my hand and said, talk.
Love it.
And so this is homecoming for me. I'm really excited. I did serve a decade on the board, loved every minute of it, and knew in 2019 that it was time for me to sort of just transition and let some things go so that I can make room for some new blessings and new pathways. And it's been amazing.
So take a moment just to reflect a little bit and think about a leadership attribute or something you're passionate about, skill. What do you cling to that allows you to do all of this?
Well, there are a few things that I cling to. My faith is one of them, right?
Yeah.
My faith has been the guiding light and grounding force, the bedrock of who I am and how I show up in community, right?
Yeah.
I think the other leadership imperative is to, show up understanding that you don't know it all and that leaders build other leaders
Yeah.
and learn from other leaders. And the last one is confidence, right? And I attribute a lot of that to reaching higher. Walking in room 101 at Remus Robertson Middle School, the year 2000, and the instructors and mentors said that I was a miracle, and complimented me and told me how great I was until I believed it. And all these years later, I still believe it. And I show up with that same radical love,
Yeah.
right, that was shown to me all of those years ago. In Detroit, we hold space for some pretty contentious topics, some really palpable topics that don't always feel good, right? We unearth some trauma so that we can get to healing a lot of the times. But I think the sweet spot on, how I show up and how I lead, even when it's tough, I still lead with that radical joy and that radical love. It's a blessing.
Oh, that's profound. I think how many people would put being humble and being confident together, and I think that's a great mix, and I see that in you too.
Yeah, you can't call yourself humble and be humble. It's like, oh, I'm humble. It's like, well, are you? Are you? But showing up and being accessible and making people feel good is a thing that I love to do. The human imperative is really three things: to feel seen, heard, and understood.
There you go.
And I believe that I possess a divine ability to be able to show up in that way so that people can feel seen, because we all need that, can feel heard and understood. 7 billion people in the world. People want witnesses to their life.
Yeah, profound. Profound.
Wow. So I got this smile on my face, and I just
Hey, Susie.
can't believe that you're sitting in front of me now,
Yeah.
all grown up. So
All grown up.
let's go back in time.
Sure.
And so you were in 6th grade when you took the class and you walked into Remus Robinson. And, sitting across from me, it's like, oh my gosh, look at this amazing, confident person that's making such a mark in our world. So, Orlando,
Yeah.
let's go back in time. And what was it that kept you coming back to Reaching Higher all these years? Because I remember in that class, I knelt down next to you when you were in the small group, and I didn't even say anything, but you looked at me and you recited a Bible verse to me.
Oh yeah, my
So
faith,
your faith has
always
carried
been,
you for ever since it was the foundation
yeah,
of what the
always.
leadership that you're attributing to now.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back, and what kept you coming back to Reaching Higher all these years?
The power of hope, skills to cope.
There it is.
I don't know if that's still the tagline for the program, but for me, as a youngster, I was a very serious child. My mom will tell you, I was the middle child, and I was the responsible one. And so my mom leaned on me a lot, right? My
That's
parents
right.
leaned on me a lot to be able to show up and help run the household. And I also had very high standards for myself. I wanted to show up perfect. I wanted my work to be perfect.
Yeah.
And for a kid to be that high strung, it produced a great deal of anxiety for me, right? I had triggers and felt overwhelmed at times, but didn't have the vocabulary to be able to express what that was that I was feeling, right? I experienced some trauma, coming up as well. And also being absent of feeling, super affirmed by adults in my life, right? Not being brushed off. I know my family loved me, and I know the adults in my life loved me, but they had responsibilities. They had to feed us. They had to go to work. They were busy, right? My mom was busy.
Your
My
mom
dad
worked
was
hard.
busy.
Yep.
My aunt and grandmother, they all worked. And so little old me over here just like, hey, I'm drowning. They're like, boy, you got a job, you know what I'm saying? You paying bills, you all right. And so what Reaching Higher did for me was they saw me. And for a kid
That's key.
like me, that was what I needed. I needed that adult affirmation. I needed that sight from grown-ups to say, hey, what you're going through and what you are experiencing is important too.
Yeah.
Right. And what we're going to do here is we're going to help you face and, figure out those kinds of feelings to show up to the world your best, unique, miracle self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And it kind of goes back to, in my mind, what the course does is this might be the first time as a young person that you experience an adult being humble. In other words, when I teach instructors or when I have mentors, I say just take the class with them and lead through vulnerability. Share the stressors in your life. Share all those things in your life. And that's when the magic seems to
Oh,
happen.
yeah, it's magical. And these are people who left an indelible footprint on my life. There are names that I would never forget. Carolyn Gibson,
Oh, wow.
Susie
Carol.
Dahlmann, Cindy Stonick. I mean, these are people that I will never forget. And I owe so much. I'm happy to come home to Reaching Higher and MC. This is such a privilege.
Well, we're so happy to have you. And, you know, before we got online here, you got a chance to watch a video of
gosh.
yourself back when you were at Eastern Michigan University talking about when you took this class as a sixth grader. And I'm going to quote from that video.
Sure.
Reaching Higher gave me the skills to love myself and understand the situation I am in the present time will not determine my outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear resolve in that. And you said this as a college student. I now go back to that list of roles that I reflected and share how Reaching Higher helped give you that resolve and live that principle out today.
Trouble don't last always, right?
Yeah.
I think that the sometimes harsh realities of the present can cloud your judgment and vision to be able to see down, even just as far as down the street,
Yeah.
right? Reaching Higher was that sunny day that cleared the clouds so that I can see down the street. It's like, okay, you're in the situation right now. Yeah, you're riddled with anxiety, and we have to figure that out, and we're going to figure that out.
Yeah.
But what you're going to be and where you're going to become is so awesome. You don't even understand. You know what I mean? Like that kind of affirmation to know that, oh man, these are grown-ups telling me this, and so far, and they're much older than I, and they've survived every harsh reality that they've been through, and every bad day they've survived.
Right.
I can survive too, right? And in the process, giving myself grace, because when you are a perfectionist like I am, you can be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And so giving myself grace and giving myself love, loving myself, right, through that was of the utmost importance, because I can't love anybody, right?
Yeah.
I
Until
can't
you love
any-
yourself.
Until I love myself.
That's right.
I can't
That's right.
I can't truly be happy for anyone unless I am truly in love with myself, right, and confident in myself. So, yeah.
I love that. I love to tell people, if you're going to be your biggest critic, you need to also be your biggest fan.
Ooh,
Well said, Troy. Well said.
I'm working on it.
I think you're doing really good.
I'm working on it. It's so crazy, because let me tell you how I am for real. Like, you give me an assignment, I'm never finished with it, right? I am never done with it. If I give it to you, it's because I just had to turn it in. I'm not done with it. It's due. And I'm like, whatever, I got to let it go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, always like with bated breath, I wonder what's going to happen. And folks are like, what are you fretting for? This is fine. Like, this is actually really great.
You
right?
did your best.
I did my best. And so I got, I'm learning, even if I don't feel like it's finished, to just let it go. Like, it's probably my Virgo. I don't know what it is. It's probably that middle child syndrome. But yeah.
Your sense of excellence also.
Yes. I want to do things with the spirit of excellence. Absolutely. Everything attached to me, I want it excellent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Orlando.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that, you had anxiety as a child. And, you think about the world now, especially after COVID, how much anxiety there is in the world, and how much, it's needed for people to be seen and heard and know that they matter. So what advice would you give others that are starting their journey? What advice would you give them to help them to thrive forward like you have?
First, breathe through it, y'all.
Yeah. Breathe through
Love
it.
it.
Yeah.
Breathe through it, right? This is something that had been, a journey for me for years, even into adulthood, that I've been, able to conquer, but also contend with it sometimes. COVID really tested whether or not I was truly the master of my consciousness, right? And my mental, right? And there were some battles fought during COVID, right? There were
A lot of
battles
battles
fought. There were times
Sure was.
where I couldn't get out of the car, driving to the grocery store, and I was riddled and stuck and couldn't move. I mean, this is an ongoing battle. I think once again, my first piece of advice is to breathe through it. My second piece of advice is seek help, y'all. I think for
Ask
way
for help.
too ask for help. I think for way too long, especially in the Black community. And we're socially conservative a lot and on a lot of things. Therapy being a taboo subject, right? Therapy being a subject that we don't even bring up and discuss because we don't want to be perceived as the quote unquote crazy people, right? Crazy folks go to therapy.
Or weak.
I had to realize that even though I struggle with anxiety, there is nothing wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with me. There is nothing crazy about me. I am going to therapy. Yes, I am Black. I am a Black man, and I'm going to therapy, and I'm really trying to normalize this conversation, especially among Black folk, right? Because it still is taboo in so many areas, and it has shifted and changed the way that I show up in space. You know what I mean? And gave me the tools, right? Similar to this program as an adult on how to navigate this terrain of anxiety and panic, but also helped me to realize that the answers that I was seeking, right, were already within me.
Yes. Orlando, so wise.
My therapist therapist didn't give me any answers, right? She helped me frame the right questions to ask myself.
That's right.
Right? And so seek help because I understand all too well, what that feels like, what that means. And I was saying before we start press record on the show, I can't imagine being a young person growing up now.
I know
In
the
the
world's
age of
so
social
much
media,
different.
the world is different. It is. I can't imagine what that is. My heart goes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they need us more than ever, right?
Yeah.
They say ask for help not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong.
Yeah.
And so I'm so proud of you. Sometimes we're too proud to ask for the help that we really need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and look where you are today.
Yeah.
So amazingly proud of you, Orlando.
And I love how you said that. And I don't like the word tagline. I like the word passion line.
Yeah.
And what it is now is discover the leader within.
Yeah.
That's a
And,
tagline.
and it's just because exactly what you said, because the answer is in here.
Yeah. We
and,
have it.
And that's about what reaching higher does. It coaches you through that, to go through that reflection. And that answer can be a little bit different for everyone, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just privileged to hear you guys catch up, and you guys have had a relationship for 20 years. For
over
20 years.
So
That makes me really old.
why was it important to you to maintain that relationship with Susie?
I mean, you always go back to where love is. You always go back to where you are fed, right?
Aw,
A stray cat, right, will roam the neighborhood all day, but that stray cat is coming back to that house that feeds him. I'm not calling myself a stray cat, but what I'm saying is where you feel fed, where you feel seen, heard, and loved, you go back to, right? And Susie Dahlmann is one of God's best. Susie Dahlmann is the best of us, right?
Absolutely.
And I love having the honor and privilege to be a recipient of her grace, of her aura, of her presence. And so that was important to me, but I also felt called, for as long as I did, to give back in any way that I could to the program that I loved and cherished so much. And so I mentored. I served on the board. I never taught because I was climbing in my career. I didn't have time to figure that out. But I always said that I'm forever indebted, to reaching higher. And I kept that. I held that close for so long, so many years.
It's interesting you say that, because we went through, during the COVID, we went through strategic planning and set our core values. And one of the 4 core values that we have is affirmation. And it's really because Susie's our cornerstone and is all about affirming others. So thank you for sharing that. It's powerful. It's really powerful.
Thanks for those kind words, Orlando. I don't think there's anything more powerful in the world than love. And in the world today, we need more love, right?
Yes.
And that's why, I remember back in the days when you became a mentor, when you were working with me in all the classes, and when you mentored many other children with that love. And, I think probably till this day, they're still carrying that love out
I hope so.
that you gave to them.
Yeah.
And so, I see your bright eyes and your big smile, and you are now the light carrying it forth, and the love that you're carrying forth in this world. I couldn't be prouder.
Thank you.
So tell me now, what is your dream?
Yeah.
Here you are at 33 years old, young. 33 years old, young. You might think it's old, but it's very young. You have the
Very
rest of
young.
your life
I don't
ahead of
feel
you.
old. No, I don't feel old at all.
And Orlando, you got a list of all these accolades that, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so because I know how much you want to make a difference, what's your aspiration? What's your goal? What's your dream? You're looking down the road, let's say 10, 20 years from now.
My dream is to exhaust every gift, every proclivity, every talent that I have.
Wow.
I want to do it all. Right? I want to do it all. My dream is to go to my grave empty, having fulfilled whatever mission that I've set out to do. Right? In the interim, my dream really is, number one, to amplify a narrative about Detroit, about Black people in Detroit that have been marginalized and squeezed out for so long, starting with abundance, not a deficit.
Yes.
All too often, we talk about marginalized communities from a deficit-based place. And I'm starting from abundance.
I love
I'm
that.
starting from love. And to be able to put on record folks that have been locked out of the record, the public record, for so long, or had been an adversary of the public record for so long, to tell those stories. My dream is for Detroit to remain Big Mama in all of the world, right? My friend Simone Lightfoot says, if Detroit goes, so goes the rest of the United States, so goes the world. I've traveled all over this world of ours, and remnants of Detroit are everywhere. I've been in Slovakia and heard Aretha Franklin come on the radio.
You were in Slovakia?
I was in Slovakia. I let me tell you, I went to Bratislava, Slovakia, and during the time I was there was a jazz festival going on in Bratislava, Slovakia. And there was this group staying at our hotel. And one of the band members and I went to high school together.
No.
How in the world?
Go figure. How would that happen?
Detroit is everywhere. And so my dream is for Detroit to be a city that I continue to recognize and love, right? Another dream of mine is to figure out how to incorporate rest and joy in everything that we do. A wise Black woman said that schedule your joy because misery will schedule itself.
Oh,
Wow.
I love that.
Wow.
Good quote from my pocketbook. That's
Schedule
great.
your joy
Always looking for those.
because
Because
misery will schedule itself. And you know what gives me joy? Rest. Doing nothing, just being, and being able to be in space and being able to be in nature. Right now, life is a little hectic. It's a little crazy. One thing after the other. I'm tremendously blessed. But, sometimes when it gets this crazy, I dream about rest, Susie Dahlmann.
Hey, rest is so you can give your best,
Yes.
right? Rest and best,
Rest,
and
yeah.
it's important. I learned that too because I'm German, like Troy is here, and I'm always like pushing.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you want to leave this planet doing all that you can and spreading all the good and all the love that you can. And so I support you in resting.
While not betraying yourself.
That's right.
Do all that you can. Love on people. Don't betray yourself. Don't betray your body.
No, because health is wealth.
Yeah, it's an occupational hazard for people like us who want to spread so much
Yes.
love in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one thing that grounds me, I like to tell myself, you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
So if you don't love
Yeah,
yourself,
Troy.
and you said that before, how can you give that? How can you give love to anyone else? You
Yeah.
got to fill your cup in order for someone else's to be filled
That's
too.
so true. I said this on my podcast last night. They asked me how my weekend went, and I said this weekend I chose myself.
Ooh, I love
There
that.
were a couple of events, a few events actually, that I was supposed to show up at that I decided not to go to, in order to just clean my house,
Yeah.
right? And make it smell good and light a candle.
Yeah, there you go.
And go to the grocery store and fill my cupboard. And I woke up the next day, Sunday and Monday, with so much joy. It's like, oh, my space is clean. You know what I mean? That means a lot. Choose yourself.
I know. Order, they say order is the first law of the universe. I'm the same way. If I don't walk out of my house with everything in order, then my life isn't in order as I walk
I'm
forward.
trying to tell you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
There you go, buddy.
So you just walked through all of this. You just shared about saying no and the power of saying no. And you said yes to being an MC
I did.
for us at Reaching Higher. Why?
Oh, because that's easy. I'm coming home. I'm literally Reaching Higher has been a source of home. It has been a source of joy, love. And, one of the things that I realized just this year, and it was an emotional realization. I think I was in a counseling session during this realization, is that, number one, I know that I'm gifted to make people feel seen, heard, and understood. But for so long, what was indoctrinated in me is that you do for others and not expect anything in return. And I had to unlearn that, because what I realized is that gift that I give to the world, I need it back.
Yes.
I need that back. And so, Reaching Higher has always made me feel seen, heard, and understood. And so when they asked me to come back and be an MC, I am returning that gift. I want Reaching Higher by, the program wasn't even 5 years old when I took it, right? I want Reaching Higher, the program 20 some odd years later, to feel seen. I want it to be heard, and I want it to be understood. And as I got a couple of awards that say that I'm a pretty good communicator. I think I can help communicate that.
Thank you for paying it forward. Thank you for doing that.
I know. How proud am I? I feel so privileged to be standing on that stage with you after 25 years of building this, organization with all these amazing people.
Yeah.
And sharing the love, sharing God's love.
Yeah.
So thank you. I feel
Amazing.
so blessed.
I'm blessed.
So I can't wait for that night.
That's going to be fun. We're going to be downtown
That's right.
Detroit.
Joy.
Joy.
It's going to be so much fun.
In the D. I could
Absolutely.
walk. I could walk to the venue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Orlando, this has been a pleasure.
No, the pleasure's mine.
And thank you for saying yes, and thank you for who you are. Thank you for one of the reasons why Susie and I were passionate about starting this podcast is we also want to remind those, and we have over 10,000 graduates, Orlando, of Reaching Higher, over 25 years. And we want to remind them of a leadership principle, something they learned in class that impacted them, because just what you said, life throws haymakers at us. And when we get gut punched like that, we tend to forget our true worth. We tend to forget that, and we need to be reminded. So you did that today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Orlando. I don't think anybody out there is going to want to miss this event. Do you?
No, y'all show up for this.
I know. Join us November 12th at the
The Westin Book Cadillac.
Westin Book Cadillac Hotel.
Right on Washington, y'all. I'll see y'all there.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night making a difference in others' lives.
Thank you.